First and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. This is indeed a distinguished and quite a large crowd for public consultation. I don't recall the last time there was such a large crowd for public consultation. I think the last time was perhaps when the government of Angola was thinking about taking our land. You know, that was way back in the 1950s. But be that as it may, it's really good to have so many people here. Not only people who have spent a lot of their time in the hospitality industry, but some of you that I'm seeing here are not working in the hospitality industry. Some of you are students. And I would like to welcome one of our former junior ministers of tourism, Mr. Shamar Gaskin. To welcome from the Ministry of Tourism, Ms. Patricia Harrigan. I don't think that she's here in that capacity, but nevertheless, I see a lot of our hospitality professionals, but I also like to give a special welcome this afternoon to Mr. Sue and Mrs. Robin Ricketts, my neighbors. I want to especially welcome them because before they were anything in Angola called an economy, Sue and Robin was here. And they are the starters, the beginners, the birthers of what we call today the Angola hospitality product. We all know that Lloyd's Guest House was the first hotel in Angola. And over the last 5 to 50 years, they have been able to maintain their charm and maintain what they offer from the very inception of Lloyd's Guest House. But with Sue and Robin, when they came to Angola way back in the 1970s, they saw a lot more. And they were able to bring Capjaluca to Angola. Sorry, Malihana to Angola. The story of Malihana is a story that can be written in the book. Because Sue and Robin came to Angola and they didn't have a bag of money like some of you do. So they were tasked in developing a hotel in Angola. And Mr. Leon Roy was in St. Martin vacationing, and they went to St. Martin. They met with him, and they were able to encourage him to come to Angola. And then within a few weeks, that's how fast we could get business done in Angola back then. Within a few weeks, the money was in the bank, and the construction started. And they are here, and they can correct me if I'm wrong. And they started that. And after that, they went on, they did the same thing for Capjaluca. And you'll notice that there's a similarity between Capjaluca and Malihana. Both of them have indigenous Amerindian names, the Arawaks, the people that inhabited this country before the Spaniards, the British, and the Africans came to this country. Capjaluca is come from the word Jaluka, the rainbow god. And those petroglyphs, those can be found in the Fountain Cavern, which is perhaps the most important Amerindian site in the entire Western Hemisphere. And Malihana was a name that was given by the Arawaks to Angola. Marijuana. Eventually the Spaniards came and turned to Anguilla, and the British came and turned to Anguilla. And now we all have a different word and a different pronunciation for it. But nevertheless, they are the ones who brought that. And then eventually they acquired Zarina. And they turned it to Anapuana, which is another Amerindian name. And I'm sure I have an Amerindian name as well. I don't know what it is. Yeah. But in the interest of not being too long with it, again, I would like to welcome all of you here. This is perhaps one of the most important exercises because from way back in the 1980s, very early in the 80s, we had a tagline called Tranquility Wrapped in Blue. It's beautiful, I love it, I love the song of it. But the question that we must ask ourselves, are we really tranquil? Are we really, today, tranquility wrapped in blue? I know during the mid-2000s, we had evolved into feeling as believing, and we know the history behind feeling as believing, because we did not think at that time that we were tranquil. Because between the Arawaks being extinct in Angola, during that time, up until 2003, we had less crime in this country, especially less gun-related crime, than between 2003 to 2014. Sounds crazy, right? But you can check it out. That's a matter of fact. So we have to question ourselves and ask ourselves if we're really tranquility wrapped in blue. You know, if that is exactly who we are. When you think about tranquility wrapped in blue, when you go to the restaurant, does that feel like tranquility wrapped in blue? when you drive on the Valley Main Road, does it feel like tranquility wrapped in blue? So these are the questions that we must ask ourselves to see this tagline epitomizes exactly who we are and what we are as a destination. So this morning we had a very productive, extremely productive focus group comprising of a number of persons from all walks of life, including hospitality owners, hospitality managers, students, young people from the Anguilla National Youth Council, the Anguilla Ambassador Board, and so forth. And it was very interesting, and hopefully we'll have a similar productive meeting this evening, and we can come up with something, maybe not for this meeting, but something that we can all embrace and move forward collectively with. So thank you again for coming out. But before I move on, I would like to also introduce the Brito Agency and the team, and they will introduce themselves as we go on. So thank you again.
Well, I have a pretty big mouth. I don't think I can use that. Thank everyone for coming out tonight, this evening. My name is Maribeth Brito. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of the wonderful Anguillians I see in the room this evening. I am a global brand strategist, have been branding for about 20 years, and have been a consumer of Anguilla's product for close to 30 years. And we are here this evening to have a spirited, open dialogue, debate, conversation, exchange over the repositioning of Anguilla's brand. We're going to talk a little bit about what branding is for those who may not fully understand what branding entails, what branding is designed to do, and through this exercise, we hope that you will, at different points throughout the presentation, share your wisdom and insights, your passions, because for us, branding is really about mirroring the spirit and heart of the people who have to carry the message of the identity that we will help you discover. We are very excited about this process. We have been working on this process for the last 3 or 4 months very rigorously. I was brought on board a couple of years ago, but this process didn't start until the latter part of June. And I've assembled a world-class team of strategists who have worked across a myriad of luxury brands, from Ferrari to Nike to Apple. And they'll each share a little bit about themselves as they come up. I call them my Picasso and Michelangelo of creating brand identities that really lead to category leadership. We're very confident that we have, that we will present to you some strong considerations for Anguilla's new chapter. This is not about changing anything about Anguilla, it's about evolving Anguilla in a way that we believe will allow you to effectively take advantage of the new consumer habits and patterns that we see emerging within the travel space and beyond. So again, we thank you for coming out. We thank you for bringing the wisdom that we know we will hear, the opinions and point of view that we know you will share. And we're going to start with a short video presentation and then we're going to move through some intel that really is a culmination of months of research that we have gathered that will give you an interesting perspective of how the marketplace and what the consumers feel and think about Anguilla's brand equity worldwide. And at that point, we will present some concepts to you that are edited down from a session we had this morning. And we'll share some creative boards with you. And throughout that process, that's where you can jump in and share your feedback and give us whatever guidance you think we should know. Again, this exercise is about understanding who Anguilla is and what Anguilla wants to be, how Anguilla wants to be defined. I had a conversation with Hayden Hughes and Gashard about 4 years ago as a concerned consumer of Anguilla's product, as someone who used to come to Anguilla often with a lot of my clients. And they weren't coming to Anguilla anymore for a number of reasons that I thought should be brought to someone's attention, someone who could perhaps do something about it. And after having those conversations with Gashard and Hayden, maybe a year and a half went by, perhaps longer, before I was contacted again about, hey Albert, before I was contacted again about sharing perhaps my insights towards helping Anguilla recalibrate. A brand is who we are, how you want to be defined, how you want the world to define you. And it's also a brand promise. It's more than words, and that's what you'll see as we walk you through this presentation. A tagline is words, but those words have to come to life by the execution. And when we talk about a brand promise has to deliver on what you say you are. And so if we say that we're tranquility wrapped in blue, if we say that we're feeling is believing, whatever we say we are, that consumer has to find when they arrive on Anguilla shores. So that can frame the process, and we'll start with, again, a short video and get right into the creative.
The right version. You saw a little bit of poetry, you saw a little bit of moving image. It's very nice, right? But I think today is a discussion of how we get there, how we choose the right way to express this, so that every time we express it, we know we're doing it in a way that's perfect for us, in a way that's different than any other island can own. Just introduce myself.
Excuse me, can you introduce yourself, sir?
Sorry?
Can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I was going to do that. To introduce myself and my colleague Michael. Michael's an island boy, actually, himself, from Java, Indonesia. Been in the States for a while, doing a lot of branding for everything from high-end clubs to luxury real estate, to beverages, food, things like that. My name is Jake Wheeler. Been an executive creative director at some big New York ad agencies. Been on my own, consulting for some of the magazines like Sports Illustrated, Maxim. Most recently, I was leading all of the Volvo work for North America, helping them rebrand and reposition themselves. As you know, they were a very classic brand that maybe fallen in some difficult times, and we're looking for a way back. Done that for a lot of brands, also in China, Bacardi and Tag Heuer. Led their branding for all of China. Mike has a perspective of being from an island. Marvette has a perspective of working with Anguilla for a long time. And I'm an avid world traveler who kind of likes to explore the sort of reason behind travel, what makes people travel, and just how people think in different parts of the world. So it's kind of who we are. Move on. All right, I'm working off 2 machines here, so in advance, I appreciate your patience. So today's about an evolution, right? And I think we want to take you on that journey, but I think an evolution starts with looking backwards and looking within, finding our DNA before we kind of get to the future. And that's really instrumental about today. I think we're going to cover a few things. One is, what is branding? What do we really need branding to do? The important takeaway is it's much more than a tagline. It's much more than something you're going to see on a bumper sticker, a t-shirt, or a poster. It really has to be something that can allow us to aspire to a certain behavior, to a certain product that we want Anguilla to be, and that we know it can do, we can deliver on. So part of it is, what is branding? The other is, who are we, right? And what do we want to be? So a lot of that is this evolution, looking into ourselves, looking into our DNA, finding out what we incredibly own, and how we want to show it to the world. All right. So today is the start of that journey. It's today we can sort of begin to create the next generation of Anguilla's identity. What today isn't, it's not answers. Yeah, it's close. It's getting closer to answers. I think it would be, I never like to come into a place, especially for the first time, and give people answers and dictate. I think it's very arrogant. I think it's a good way to swing and miss. What today is an exploration of, this morning was 6 great territories that we thought were very strong areas to mine for our future. And you're going to see expressions and pictures and articulations of that, but you're not going to see a final ad campaign that says, here's your final ad campaign. Because without your input, it's meaningless. So we're going to show you, I think, 3 strong territories that we narrowed down this morning. that we think are very, potentially great messaging for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and out. But without your input, it doesn't have as much weight. So we'd like to hear from you, and I think that's part of this experience here. So it's about drafting a vision of who we are, what we believe, and then how we show ourselves to the world. And we begin to express the special attributes of our island home. And then it's a promise that our people, our stakeholders, and more importantly our guests can feel, believe, and dream about. And all those things are important. Feel is important because that's the sort of awareness part of it. If someone sees it on a poster or a billboard, they've got to be able to feel that. It's got to attract them. Then they've got to be able to believe that. And they've got to come here and experience it and say that it's true so that they come back again. And it's got to be strong enough that they dream about it and share it. Everything's about sharing now. That they share this vision with other people. And it really becomes a reality. Because any kind of tagline that we came in here delivered, if it didn't hold true, people would figure it out very quickly. And you'd have a dead campaign. We'd be going through this exercise, next year or so. So I think that authenticity is important. So today the exercise is, let's discover our core truths. We're going to present you some brand promise territories that we think are very strong. And then from that, we're going to come down with one. We're going to build the tagline, the logo, the crystal clear identity from that. And then once you have your identity, really once you have your brand truth, then you get into everything else. Then we say, okay, now what's advertising, right? What do the brochures look like? What does the website look like? What does the app look like? Social media, obviously very important. We all know how important it is. But I think people seem to think it's separate from branding, when really all these things come from the same brand. They are the brand, right? So you can't go off and do social media and say, where's my social media, without knowing who you are and how you want to talk about yourselves first. Really strong social media, everyone here should be able to participate in. Everyone on the island is a stakeholder. But we can't do that until we kind of all agree on a tone of voice of, how are we hashtagging it, how are we collecting it to make it all work together. So all those things come out of today, the next steps from today. But all those things are coming. Great visuals, beautiful photography. We need to create an asset library to really show off what things look like here, show off the spirit of the place. A campaign for everyone on the island, a campaign for residents. I think, I don't know if anyone was listening to the radio last night, but on the show, I think advertising is as important for the people it's about, rather than as it is for the people it's to. It tells us what we think about ourselves and how we're all agreeing that we go to the world and show ourselves to. Everybody from if you're in the service industry, or if you're just someone that says hello to someone on the street, right? We all have a stake in that, so we all have to kind of agree. And so as we decide on a sort of a territory and tagline, we will then talk to ourselves about what we've arrived at. And then you'll have other advertising that talks to the world, but it's going to come from the same place. That's important. So our task. So we were asked to rebrand the island, or explore that anyway. What our goal is again, it's not a tagline, it's to create distinction through the island's unique character, to build a compelling and lasting identity for Anguilla. So it has to be, it's a very competitive global travel space, right? If we look at the challenge, that's nice to say, what are the challenges? Well, so it's that awareness, the truth, how we make people aware of it, and it's the logistics. So we need to find out what our differentiating points are and what we can own. And that's tough in a very competitive, global travel world. In the last decade, the world got very small. As we talked about this morning, places like Croatia and Vietnam showed up all of a sudden. And that's real competition. But it's also the logistics. So again, a beautiful brand tagline without a beautiful experience to match, it gets you halfway there, and might do more harm than good. Because then the word of mouth coming out of that, someone buys your tagline, hook, line, and sinker, and they don't feel the experience lived up to that, you're going to get negative reviews, which is maybe the worst thing that can happen. So branding. What is branding? A lot of people think branding is advertising. A lot of my peers think branding is advertising. I don't. I think advertising comes from your brand. But I think if you look at the great brands, they're holistic. Advertising shows part of it, but how they behave in every aspect of the game. So if you look at a great brand like Apple, Apple's advertising is beautiful, it's iconic. Apple's tagline, think different, is iconic. But maybe it's iconic because they've proven it out through everything else. Maybe think different is iconic now because the way Apple approached retail was absolutely different. When everyone said, don't do it this way, they did it this way. When Apple reinvented the phone, they absolutely did it their own way and did it differently. So their tagline took on value because they proved that value out. So you can start into the tagline, but really it's going to be a lot of other things that come into play. So you're gonna have your identity and your messaging. What do the magazine ads look like? Your logo, things like that. Marketing and advertising, right? How do we approach social? How do we gather the assets? What are the actual plans with media? And then importantly, I think something that people miss, the services and logistics. It is, your brand is going to be what people experience here. They're going to get a part of your brand when they see it on TV or see it in a magazine. They're going to get more of your brand when they go to the website and try to look or try to do research. And they're going to get the full-on extent of your brand when they're here experiencing it. So if you do one of those things, if you do two of those things, but don't do the third thing, you're not building a brand. Right? So when we evaluate the territories today, think about them. We have to think about which one is strong enough to hold all three of those, right? Not which is the coolest tagline. Because you could do that for forever and it might not mean anything at all. The ones that become most meaningful, like just do it, they become meaningful over a long time because it is the equity behind it, the athletic performance, the retail experience, the PR, just the overall coolness. So that's equity that's earned, and it's earned through all those areas. So that's what I think branding is. And I think that's how we need to think about it today. And that's why I can't come up here with a great tagline and say, here's your answer. Right? Because I think you ought to buy into it and own it. And that equity is going to make it powerful over the years. So especially when we think about travel. Now, people don't simply purchase travel. They dream about it. They aspire to achieve it. They share their ideas and feelings about it before they go. They research it online. They plan their itineraries. They compare places. And then when they come to experience it, they live it. They don't show up and leave right away. They don't show up and take a couple pictures. Although I guess that's kind of debatable in the Instagram era. And then they remember it. They share it with other people. And hopefully, in the best possible scenarios, they want to relive it. And they want to relive it again and again. And maybe, become some sort of resident, become part of it, or become an ambassador for it. So branding needs to really affect all those touch points, right? Branding can't be just that sexy billboard that makes somebody book, right? Good branding has to be able to operate effectively and emotively at all those different levels. So, from the awareness is the advertising part, but everything on social, from the TripAdvisor to creating our own sharing tools, pricing, booking, purchasing, how do we make those things available in an authentic and friendly, in a uniquely Anguillian way? CRM, when someone visits, we want them to visit again. How do we talk to them? In what way? What do we send them? Do we send them, souvenirs or pictures that maybe they forgot about or didn't know they had? Something extra that we've done for them. So we've got to think about it all the way through, from that first inspiration all the way through repeat visits. So knowing well is more than a destination, it's an experience, and our identity must be able to create and reflect this experience. So, going to some boring research. We think we have 3 different target markets. We think we have one distinguished guest. These are sort of very high net worth individuals that bring their private boats and planes. They have the ability to choose a lot of places and have chosen this for a reason. We think there's something about the friendliness, the laid-backness, something about the authenticity and maybe lack of hoopla that makes it attractive to a certain set. So we think the new campaign has to still be able to deliver on this and to deliver to this target without us becoming something we're not. And that's, I think, its own area for healthy debate. We think there's another segment, and perhaps a really big segment, we call them experienced travelers, seeking something new together. And these are younger people, maybe between their 30s and 50s, and they've been to a lot of islands, they've been to a lot of global destinations. And maybe they're looking for that one place they haven't gone yet. Maybe they're looking for that place that's a little bit off the radar. Maybe they're looking for that place they can kind of settle down to. Maybe they've been to 20 countries, 30 countries, 40 countries. I know a lot of people that have. And they like to find that one place they know they can go back to, right? And with both of these 2 targets, there's a bit of sophistication. They have the power to choose. We want them to continue to choose this place. And there's a certain refinement. They're not choosing the blingiest vacation. They're not choosing the biggest party. At least we don't think. So, we have to think, what do these people want? They sort of a little bit more refined, a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more sophisticated. And how do we give them that in a way that attracts them and will keep attracting them? And then our future market, they're not maybe right in our target market yet, but if we're going to build a long-lasting campaign, we need to think about the people that are going to be coming, in 5 years and 10 years. and 15 years and 20 years, and these are the millennials. The oft-vilified millennials. These millennials, what can we say about them? Travel's a huge thing for them. A lot of research now is showing, millennials are liking this research, but it's for everyone, saying that collecting experiences and not things is a true way to happiness. This is a group of people, really, they live a lot of their lives on rent. They're fine renting cars. They're fine, couch surfing around New York. But they want experiences. They're driven by whether it's the next Coachella or seeing temples in Asia. Everything's about experience for them. Material things mean a little less, but a great experience is absolutely meaningful. And on top of that, a trend that's emerging, and it's probably obvious to people, they call it extreme, which is really streaming your life, streaming your experience. So it's not enough to have these experiences and seek them out. You want everyone to know you're having these, so it becomes communal in a way. So what are we giving, these millennials? What will we give these millennials in the future? What can we give them? That isn't something kind of alien to our authenticity. That's something we incredibly own and deliver. That they're going to want to stream. They're going to want to share of themselves doing. And yes, it's the beaches, and yes, it's a lot of the natural things we have here. But how do we kind of augment that in the future to attract them in a way that, again, fits this sort of truth and brand we're trying to build? So putting a giant roller coaster, probably not the right idea. You might generate selfies, but is that true to who we want to be and what we want to be 5, 10, 15 years out? So those are 3 targets, and I think with anything you're selling, maybe it's easier with kind of material goods to segment, right? Siri not a fan? So we think of, how can what we do appeal to all those people in different ways. You're going to have, different accommodations, different experiences. They all kind of come from the same place. With other goods, it's maybe not as difficult of a challenge, right? It's easier to segment, cars, even within a car family, from high-end to low-end position. But with an island experience, those lines become blurred. So 3 targets to be aware of as we kind of try to discover how we want to go to market. And there's some very interesting emerging thoughts on luxury, not just how millennials and people are sharing their lives, but what they think of what they think luxury is. And some of these stats are interesting. 72% say it's about quality. 55%, that's not too surprising, but quality as opposed to the appearance of quality or ostentation. Maybe that early Vegas luxury of the late 90s, early 2000s isn't luxury anymore to these people, right? It's actual quality, right? It's the preparation of a meal. It's time. It's more intangible things. It's craftsmanship. Obviously, the maker movement is so big in the United States now. This return to craft, this return to quality versus ostentation, I think is a big trend for us to be aware of, and one that's in our favor. 55% say it's about the experience the investment can provide. So we just talked about that. It's not about having a thing, it's about living an experience. 50% say it's about exclusivity. 61% prefer understated luxury. I think this is a new thing. So, there's all, as we kind of, we can try out numbers all the time. You start to see this evolving picture of what luxury is, and is it a luxury? Is it an area we want to play? How much do we want to say luxury? Or do we actually want to redefine luxury in a way that we think is advantageous to us? We know we're charging luxury prices, and we do cater to a luxury clientele right now. But how do we take advantage of that in a way to expand the definition of luxury so we can hit our 3 targets and really generate more tourism? So what are those competitive advantages we have? It does seem to be, from all our research, a tasteful experience, unblinded by that mass tourism effect that some of the towns in Mexico may be having, and that's a good thing. A lot of very unspoiled natural beaches. Just that pure unspoiled coastline, in itself is a draw. We were playing around with the line. We throw it out every once in a while, and everyone seems to get a laugh out of it. There's more beaches than traffic lights here. That's wild when you're coming from a place like New York, and it's unpalatable. I think that's a really, and none of them are private. That's a very, I think, interesting thing is people talk about the experience and driving the experience. There's captivating energy. It's unpretentious. I think people can find pretension if they want it, and I think they're rejecting it, as we've seen in the numbers. It's a new discovery. We want to encourage that new discovery. We don't want people to check the box, which is another big travel trend, right? People check the box. I've been to Machu Picchu, I've been to the Great Wall of China, and you kind of see and consume and leave. We want to make sure that if we do harness the new discovery aspect, new discovery sort of energy, that people feel hooked and want to stay. So, if we're going to talk to our target, what do they expect? So we know these are high income to aspirational, mid to high income people. The younger people in the set might not be high income yet, but they aspire to that and they want to sort of associate with that. Like we said before, they have sort of discerning tastes. They avoid the mass market type things. So the way we, in our communications, not only the way we speak, but our photography, Instagram just shows you that sort of that bar, even at a consumer level, of what photography has to look like now. We really have to evolve to match this discerning taste of this crowd. Some of them read the Wall Street Journal and New York Times travel section, Condé Nast Traveler, but some of them might be people that read design magazines or interior design magazines like Dwell, Wallpaper, things like that. So when you think about it in that context, it gives a sense for how refined our language has to be, how refined our visuals have to be, and then how refined our experience has to be. Right? It doesn't have to be old school, white glove, Waldorf Astoria, but it does have to be, matches expectations of, best in class, just with a different twist, not the old school twist. And then in terms of visuals, some of them might shop Ralph Lauren or Hermes, Dolce & Gabbana. They might drive Mercedes or BMW or Audi. There's a lot of range which exists within that. But you look at these things, whether you're an entry model BMW or the highest model BMW, entry model Benz or the highest model Benz, there's a certain threshold for what all Benz advertisement looks like. And some of it can be younger and have more energy, some of it can be older and be more exclusive. BMW does a great job with that too. The 3 Series stuff is super energetic, a little more sporty, and the i8 stuff is very conceptual and high-end, yet it all feels BMW. There's a sort of lower threshold for what is to be expected for BMW. I think we need to establish a lower threshold of what it means to showcase and showcase this gem. This beautiful, beautiful place, with beautiful, beautiful people. There has to be, we sort of have to start to curate and draw a line of what we think is the minimum threshold for, excellence in visual design, excellence in copy, excellence in experience. You guys getting sick of me yet? So as we went through this, right, where do you hone in? There's so many messages. Oh, tons of beaches. Oh, luxury, but understated luxury. Oh, it's unspoiled. It's natural, but everyone's a friend. We're talking to experienced travelers, but it's mystery, great dining. Kind of how do you hone in on these things? It's a good problem to have. It's a highly charged subject, interesting one. Tranquility wrapped in blue. Where do all these sort of competing thoughts leave us with that? One thing we wanted to ask you what you thought of it, right? Is it working for you? Is it not working for you? Maybe something that not to answer right now, but to carry into the debate later. Now, if we just kick the can down the road and say, it's for you to answer, not for us to answer, we did hazard a creative opinion on it. And we think tranquility is a wonderful thing. But we don't know if it fully expresses all the different attractive features of Anguilla in a succinct and powerful way. So I guess the way we're looking at it now is it's lovely, but it's part of the story and not the whole story. Especially with how we want, with the target we want to attract. The target, as we've seen, they want to stream things. They want to stream experience. They get bored easily. Is tranquility enough for them? And I think we thought of, can we couch that in a bigger experience that we can provide? Yes, tranquility is something we provide, but it's one of many wonderful things we provide. And that was kind of where we ended up on it. We believe that Anguilla offers so much more. It was time to just sort of evolve that and expand that beyond just tranquility. And say it spirited and powerful way.
As we looked at tranquility wrapped in blue, which we know many people in Anguilla are love and are passionate about, we have to remember that we have to live that brand promise. So tranquility has to be found in every touch point. So when you say you're tranquility wrapped in blue, you have to look at all your advertising and say, is it tranquility? So we can pass some of these images around. We'll hold some up in the front. But the concept is, does tranquility match and work with every photo you see? When you say tranquility wrapped in blue, does it speak to this photo? Does it speak to this photo?
See you.
Have one back there.
Yeah, sure. So it's all about making sure that your brand can immerse and cascade across all of your touch points. Because remember, it's a brand promise. It's what you promise to deliver to your consumers when they get here. So it's more than just a tool to attract them to Anguilla, but it's a tool to ensure that you deliver at every touch point. So that tranquility, what does that mean when you arrive into Anguilla and you're met with a porter or an immigration official who may not be so tranquil?
Yeah, but the official, the photo of the beaches here are tranquil beaches.
Pardon?
Where's the photo of our?
Yeah, the beaches are tranquil.
You selectively chosen a few photos to make a case.
Pardon
You
me?
haven't represented Anguilla. You've selectively chosen a few photos to make a case.
No. We know that it works.
You're not making a cogent, honest diagnosis right off the bat.
Okay. We know that tranquility works for a beach photo.
Right.
But when you assign, hang on a minute. When you adopt a brand promise, it has to work across everything that you're selling. You're selling more than beaches. So let me actually take a couple steps back. The first thing you have to do with a brand is you have to create distinction. Distinction means that a person is going to choose Anguilla over anywhere else that they might go. So when you talk about tranquility wrapped in blue, absolutely it is applicable to your beaches, but any brand promise has to be applicable to all of your offerings. So the question that we're presenting, and again, it's our point of view, and we're here to share our wisdom and expertise, and then we're very happy and eager to hear yours. But at this point, we're just showing the visual of tranquility wrapped in blue. And again, when we get to the open dialogue, we certainly want to hear all the ways in which you believe that it can be applicable across all of Anguilla's tourism offerings, from its people, which are its greatest currency. In our focus groups of over the last 2.5, almost 3 months, that was number 1 and 2 as the main magnet and reason why people returned to Anguilla. Wasn't the beaches, it was the people.
Nori has surveyed more people than you have.
Pardon?
Nori, my daughter, has surveyed more people than you have. Its beaches.
Serving or, I can't hear you.
Has surveyed more people.
Oh, surveyed.
Through the internet, thousands. Its beaches want people to do.
Okay, well, Lori,
I
my
have one of the beaches.
Pardon?
My whole point is that you can't make Anguilla what is not. Be tranquil and you can't promote sex. You can't make something what is not. Okay?
So anyway, these are images that share our point of view on how tranquility wrapped in blue should be applicable across all of Anguilla's tourism products. Okay, Jake, you want to continue? And let's make sure we don't mind you back. Okay, we're going to creative expressions.
Yeah, so as we get into new creative expressions, I think it's less about, we take the right photos to set up tranquility as a straw man or not, and to blow it down. And I think that's less maybe important as what do you want to be? If you want to be tranquility wrapped in blue, that's a healthy debate to have. Part of what we were charged with is bringing new ideas. And if you see some of those and say, yeah, actually, maybe this is what we want to be. Maybe we can deliver on this in a really interesting way. And maybe tranquility is not enough yet. Well, that's interesting maybe too. So I think it's less to shoot something down and less to bring in new answers, really than it's, as it is to bring in new thought, new options about how we want to own ourselves, how we want to own our island, and how we want to present ourselves to the world. And if it's tranquility, if we all decide that, hey, we think that that's great and that's the answer, maybe it is. Maybe the room says 99%, the new stuff stinks, it's tranquility. Maybe they say, hey, you know what, I think there's something in here that's really strong and really powerful. And I think that's part of this exercise. And again, it's an exercise, it's not answers. Yes?
I'd just like to raise a possible way of looking at this, if I may.
Sure.
I think everyone knows I'm Melinda Goddard, and I'm passionate about our brand and where we're going. It seems to me that we've gone through a lot of, we've put a lot of energy as a community into, I think, revisiting Tranquility Wrapped in Blue over the last year or two.
Okay.
And I think even the energy you're feeling in the room right now is that, I think I speak for more than just myself, I almost feel we've never even given that a great ad campaign. And when you think, yeah, we've never really even gotten there. So, but let me ask a different question, because I have also been a marketing manager and a director in my life as well. Why wouldn't it be very plausible to consider Tranquility Wrapped in Blue as our ultimate tagline? And some of the things you're talking about, look at them as transitional headlines for a campaign. And if they really catch on, evolve to it, rather than abandon it before it's really been given its best shot. Because I believe 75% of the people I've seen in the statistics believe that we are delivering. And it may not be as tranquil as some of us who live here think it used to be, but boy, when I get off the plane from being in New York, it's tranquility wrapped in blue.
That's good to hear. I mean, and I think, that's part of our job, to put it through spaces. And I'm new to this as well. And
maybe it's a win-win though. Maybe some of these are great ad campaigns, and we don't abandon our brand.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of these are ad campaigns yet. I think what you're going to see is strong thoughts, and everyone says, you know what?
Excuse me, is it possible for you to perhaps make the presentation so that we can get a sense from what is said?
Absolutely.
And then all of us are then going to be able to interact with
Yes.
you. But I would like to follow your trend and follow the exercise before we start to be critical.
Before commentary. Absolutely. So, we had three general thought areas. One was about the best kept secret. And is there power in sort of the secret? And when you have a secret, you really enjoy having a secret and having your own kind of private, joyful moments, and you share those with very select people. Is there something interesting there? One area that we really liked a lot was the area around our island, your home. So it's ours, we own it, and because we own it, we feel like we can share it, and you can make it your home, whether it's for a day or a week, or 6 weeks, or for the rest of your life. We want this to be your home. And the way we treat you, we're going to treat you like family. Any experiences you have are going to be every bit as wonderful and magical as you feel when you're home. And then another is real island living. And you'll see as we kind of, it maybe sounds a little generic now, but as we kind of put it through its paces, as you really unpack that, the power of real in a world of kind of artificial, the power of real in a world that's craving this sort of this new authenticity, island, and how island really has a different connotation than, a different country or visiting ruins or being on the mainland. Mainland versus island immediately puts thoughts in your head. And living versus escaping, life. This being sort of your other life, your sort of, life you wish you had. And when you go there to live it, not to forget about this other thing that's annoying, but to embrace it as an affirmative, positive thing. So we'll go through each one of these and show you a little bit more about how we express them. So, and we'll So as we talk about sharing the best kept secret, there's a reason no one is sharing it with you. People like to know about things before everyone else. They love to hold secret knowledge, the unmarked door, the family recipe, the coveted parking spot. There's an enjoyment of being ahead of the curve, from having a little exclusivity, the hidden gem, members only. The sublime joy of knowing you have a beautiful place in the world, practically to yourself. Of course, you'll want to show everyone your pictures, your tan. Maybe not how to get there, it's for you. your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family, but not from them, all of them. And you trust them not to tell their friends? The savvy ones, the experienced travelers, will have to figure it out. Or they'll just have to come with you next time you go back. But either way, it'll be totally worth it. So the idea of secret, it's interesting. It can be thought of as exclusionary, or it can be thought of as empowering. The ability to have a secret, or someone sharing a secret with you, imparts a sense of prestige, but in a non-ostentatious way, because if you have a secret, you can't really shout it out there. You kind of keep quiet about it. So it's kind of that understated, but empowering sort of thing. And secrets are passed from person to person, really in an intimate way. Yeah, maybe over social media, but really over drinks or a glass of wine. It's have you been to Anguilla? Well, let me tell you, there's nothing like it. But, don't tell too many people. I'm saying this between friends. If you do it right, no matter how big it gets, it can still feel like a secret. It doesn't feel big, mass. One of those trendy things that makes the run and kind of disappears once everyone's found out about it. And with a good secret, when you share a good secret, the word share is interesting, right? It's not about just telling someone something else, but for us as Anguilla, we're wanting you to share in our secret that we've known for a long time, which is that physical kind of sharing, as opposed to the verbal just telling. We think there's a nice power in that. So we'll show you some of the visuals. And again, and none of these are campaigns. These are us finding territories that we think are strong and emotional, things we can own, and then we can drive to the final wording, the final poetry, final everything else. This isn't about a billboard. It's about finding powerful truth. So, is there power in the secret? Is there power in, being able to find something off the map and share it with those you love and those in the know? When you come here feeling like you're in on the secret. So that's our first territory that we'd like to kind of have you think about and sort of digest. Some alternate wordings are, Anguilla, share the secret. Anguilla, discover the best kept secret. Anguilla, find your secret paradise. So again, we want to find the area you like best, and then find the right language, the perfect visual, the perfect everything. This is about setting up things that we think we can fall in love with and make other people love about us. Concept 2. We went over this briefly. Our island, your home. You search the world over for it. On trips to gleaming cities and ancient ruins. It can't be found. It can't be found on cruise ships or on spring breaks. A feeling of belonging. A place that truly welcomes you. The one that says you're at peace. Yes, you had to look a little harder, but it was right here the whole time. The place that makes you say, I should have been here all along. The island away from the crowds, but perfectly accommodating. Where charming escapes and luxurious villas are paired with the finest cuisine and natural beauty to create a place unique with a people unique in all the world. The moment you step onto Anguilla, we will say, welcome home. And you will know deep down, you've truly found your new Caribbean home. So this is about that sort of feeling of home, not just you being home and having that ultimate welcome, but really it's the home to a lot of things. The home to culinary excellence, where local flavors really sort of come alive. It's the home to enviable beaches. It's home to this sort of culture of connoisseurs. It's home to the world's friendliest people who treat you more like family. And to explore some visuals in this sense, a lot of the visuals kind of, I don't know if you can see up here, really connote that feeling of home, that relaxingness of walking into a door and walking into a totally different world, the one you sort of feel naturally at home in. And I can see this one, that's a couch sort of on the beach, sort of a bus shelter ad. Really evocative as you're sort of maybe waiting for a bus. You could be sitting on a different kind of couch or a chair. We also think, and we ran this by a lot of people this morning, we think there's something uniquely ownable about this, given the island's history and diverse ownership. And I think it's hard to share something if you don't truly own it. And historically, what makes Anguilla unique seems to be this sense of ownership, this sense that everyone has a stake in the island, and therefore anyone can share it with you. Anyone can can be gracious about welcoming you, because we don't feel like you're here for something else. You're here because we want you to be here. And we sort of have that right and privilege as Anguillans, as locals, people that call this our island, to make it feel like you're home. As we go on to the third territory, we had 6 this morning, but the group this morning seemed to really feel there's a lot of life in these. Real island life. And we sort of start to unpack that a little bit. We say, oh, real, yes. It's not a marketing trick. It's not a casino that was built in the last 5 years. You know, it's real, it's not pretentious. It's not some sort of trumped up event. It's authentic people. It's the real sunshine. It's that real feeling of sand maybe you've forgotten about when you live in your cubicle. It's real food from the ocean. You know, all these things that kind of is authenticity. You look at island, when you say island, it immediately conjures up images in people's minds, you know, of relaxation and brilliant water on every side and a certain vibe. And then life, not escaping but living, you know, but it's living in a fresh way, not the way you live all the time, but, you know, choosing to live in a new way for a short period of time. It's not a retreat from the world, it's a vibrancy of rediscovering things about the world, of people, of feelings that maybe you've forgotten about in your daily lives. It's life, it's rediscovering life. And then as you kind of put any of those words together, real island, right? Well, there's islands all over the place. Some are manufactured, some are made within the last 5 years and developed somewhere. You know, why is a real island better than, you know, a fake island? Why is a real island better than, you know, a party island? Or, you know, why is natural beauty superior to something that's overbuilt with a scene that's too much? You know, an island life is a distinct type of life. You know, true satisfaction with the best of nature, you know, creating a very distinct feeling. And then real life, you know, the feeling of finally enjoying life the way it was meant to be. No worries and being at peace, surrounded by nature, surrounded by choices. So as we unpack those words, they get to be maybe richer than it seems at the outset. We thought that was another territory to explore. We thought there was a lot of unpacking and longevity, exploring just what is real island life. And how do we offer that to people? So some alternate taglines: Anguilla, true Caribbean; Anguilla, true island life. And if we look at some visuals, again, very quiet but powerful visuals that show you everything those 3 little words mean. And so then whichever way we decide we think is the strongest we want to go, and I think we can have that debate just a second here. The tone and manner as we start to, you know, create high-end photography, get the right assets we need to showcase just who we are. This is just some of the tone and styling we think are interesting. We're starting to explore you know, high-end, nice angles, interesting shots, interesting compositions. You know, showing food in a different way, showing relaxation in a different way, a little more art-directed. So a mix of luxury, but true to what we have here, but also a certain peacefulness. You know, some fashion, some nature. You know, not too much of any one thing in excessive sort of tones or excessive scenes. Nothing that feels very cheesy and stock. You know, showcasing the food. Just great scenes that people want to see themselves in. And before we say thank you, time for debate and discussion.
I go back to what we just spoke about, which is distinction. And I think that to get to the heart of a brand, you have to speak to the truth of the brand. And the truth of the brand speaks to our current state. So we're going to walk through just some visuals that show a little bit about where we are. And I think they might be able to see it.
No. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that everyone who lives in Anguilla, these experiences are certainly not new to you. But they're experiences that when we sat in a room and we talked about the words that are applicable to Anguilla, I think I had a conversation very early on in the process, and I said we have to really reconsider our luxury positioning, because luxury is not what we offer at every touch point. And while we have a lot of luxurious accommodations and a lot of offerings that do speak to some level of luxury, I'm just going to walk through a lot of the photographs that I received from people I've sent to Anguilla for the first time, who questioned me on what Anguilla really represented. So I put it together in a little presentation. So I had a friend who had not visited Anguilla before, and she got to the port. She sent me the photo, and she said, well, I'm not feeling really welcome already because the door says no before I even get there. No eating, no pets, no smoking, before it even welcomed her. I had not seen that photo, so I didn't really have a whole lot to share on that, but that's at the St. Martin's departure dock. Well, this is at the departure dock in St. Martin. But this is the first experience that a person has when they're coming to, because it's our departure dock. This is Blowing Point. And again, none of this will be a surprise, so I'll kind of go through it pretty quickly. Garbage bags over the glass at the departure. Trash bins from the kitchen in the departure area. Chairs that are open for people to see as they arrive. Rusted signage, sinks. This is obviously the airport. The sign that is, well, half of the departure sign there. The picture all the way on the right had a couple of four-letter words scraped into the door. That's in the bathroom. So someone got off their jet, figured they'd go to the bathroom, and was met with that. And a couple other visuals, just but that's all in arrival areas of a luxury destination, or what many present as a luxury destination, and certainly one with luxury prices.
The typical man spend some money in it.
Yeah, I agree. But in the meantime, I put together a Blowing Point restoration project deck and started to call some friends of my agency at Home Depot and Lowe's, and met with Van Roy, who's been pretty amazing, and started to just solicit donations of paint, of just all the materials needed to at least bring the port up to some level that we could feel not embarrassed when we send people with the high expectation of giving them a comparable vacation experience, particularly when we're attracting them from other places that are refining their product. Recalibrated state is just ideas
Surely the
of what we think
the tax would pay for that paint.
Pardon?
Shouldn't the departure tax pay for the renovation of Blowing Point? They get enough of it in and out.
Well, for us, we're here to present ideas, and then when there is no money, which there hasn't really been for a lot of the initiatives, I then just move towards the resources that I have at my availability.
The HDA have addressed this many, many times, so has the ATB, but nobody does anything. We have tried. Maybe you'll have better luck than we do.
Well, I believe that these images represent a fragmented brand when we say that we want to sell a certain level of aspiration, and we want to charge, and command certain rates. I believe that there are little things that we can do collectively as a community, and so we've just been resourceful going about trying to make an impact in any way that we can with the limited funds and challenges that we know we face. So we've got some uniforms in the works, some porter carts in the works, water stations. And so these are all just some Dyson equipment for the bathrooms, some luxury partnerships. So for us, I think this exercise and the feedback that we get from each and every one of you who took the time to come out and join us today is crucial, because part of helping Anguilla to present itself is understanding who Anguilla believes it is and who Anguilla desires to be and who Anguilla desires to attract. We think that there is an emerging consumer, and when we traveled this past summer and spoke to people in Mykonos and in some of the luxury destinations that are growing and burgeoning, many of them have not heard of Anguilla, and so we want to make sure that we can speak to the next generation of emerging travelers, and we think that we've got some work to do to get there. And certainly we want to put our best foot forward, and we know that the only way we can do that is with input and intel that will be shared in this room. So we want to open the floor, and do we want to go back to, do we want to show the video again and then go back to the taglines and bring up the three and then discuss? Yeah, how do I get that from here?
I'll keep my comments brief tonight, I'll try. So, what was the video meant to evoke?
The video was so the first of all, the video had like the 6 kind of thoughts in it, but sort of how energetic and captivating I think we think the island can be in communication.
Is it that energy that you want to, see in Anguilla? That's what you see Anguilla aspiring to?
If I could speak on that, on the video, the island does not have any contents like any other island, right? I mean, we moved the Bahamas and a lot of visual appears, and it took us 2 whole days to research content on Anguilla, which we don't have. I mean, we got to really start focusing on our video libraries, photo libraries, the new current ones, not the old ones. So, based on those are all videos that is taken and clip and footages throughout people who come visit the island, right? And I say, okay, they're producing their own content, they create their own videos, and it's a whole different range of activities.
With the music, the club music,
right,
and all of that?
Well, the music is music.
It's a really important question.
No.
Is that the pace that you're...
I exactly understand the question. So the question is, right, is the tone and manner of this our video? Is this what we think? Is this the style?
Well, I also take exception that you guys have come here to give us a presentation without knowing Anguilla, without knowing us.
And especially, sorry, what's your name?
Jake and Michael.
I think that you captured Anguilla so well. Everything you said, nailed it. And yet, the messaging that you're presenting to us, like, just missed it. Like, the tagline, like, the best kept secret, that's like high school trait. It's the last thing you want to say. You want people to get that. Like, I discovered Anguilla by reading the Butt Trip to the Beach. And I found a buddy who knew a lot about the Caribbean. You ever heard about Anguilla? Oh yes, it's really cool island, nobody knows about it. Oh, what rings in my head? Best kept secret. But if somebody is advertising, pushing best kept secret to me, I'm manipulated. It's like you really caught it. Everything you said, I said, yeah, he's got it. He's got the high end, he's got the aspiration. And he catches the people. Everything you said, you understand Anguilla, and the messaging just kind of, what was it, real experience?
Real island life.
Real island life. It's like, there's 10 islands that could say that. It's almost as bad as, what was our last one? feeling is believing. I mean, Coke could say that the Olympics can say that, everything. I mean, it's almost as generic as that. You know?
People could say tranquility wrapped in glue.
Not with the amount of coastline that we have, and the 33 beaches, and that turquoise, it's truly unique. And who was it that said it's quiet after getting here from New York? Melinda said it's quiet after getting here from New York. It's quiet after you get here from Jamaica, or St. Lucia, where you feel endangered. I mean, Anguilla, you genuinely feel tranquil.
How about
Everything you said was good.
So I want to hear, she's sharing the distinction behind tranquility wrapped in blue, how it's ownable to Anguilla and only Anguilla. Distinct.
Absolutely. That any island can say that tranquility is wrapped in blue, but how many islands compose our, turtles? We have three west beaches.
Can you stand please?
Could you please give her the mic, so that we can all hear? Oh, you can go up there.
Okay, I was saying that we have possibly the best beaches in the world. Maybe we are losing our tranquil edge, but instead of taking us away from that, why not encourage us as people of Anguilla to embrace our tranquility as opposed to just, obliterating it completely? It doesn't make any sense. We have owned it as people for so long that I think it's ingrained in us. We are tranquil people.
Thank you.
We are select who have taken us away from that, stance. But taking it away from us completely makes no sense.
Thank you.
If you want to say we are the best kept secret or, real island living, tranquility wrapped in blue, we can incorporate tranquility wrapped in blue into whatever it is that you put up there.
Right.
We can. I don't see why you want, not you per se, but why you want to take it away from us.
Well, let me speak to that. We're not here to take anything away from anybody.
Okay, but it feels like that, when you're saying, and then to speak towards, you're saying, is Anguilla really a luxury product? Do we really depict luxury? To be quite honest, based on the pictures that we saw, no, we don't. However, it can be changed. We don't have to rebrand and change our tagline and all of that to, reintroduce luxury to Anguilla. Anguilla is luxurious in its own right.
So what's not working now?
What's not working? The pictures you showed. We can upgrade our airports and our ports. There's a lot of things that can be done, but I mean, to say indirectly that we have lost our luxurious edge is kind of.
But then not just a few pictures is showing on the bad, why not show the pictures of the good?
Luxury is more than the arrival port that you said,
Yes.
right? So let's talk a little bit about what a person seeking luxury values the most. Person seeking luxury values the number one currency that a person who is seeking luxury, they value one thing, and that's their time. They value time. So let's just say a couple that I sent here on their honeymoon, maybe week of August 19th. They had a private ferry, private boat set up for them. They had an itinerary and it said it was supposed to leave at a certain time. And it left an hour and 15 minutes after that time. So I think what we have to think about is luxury is more than a word. It's more than you have to live it. When you have luxury doesn't beg people for tips, right? Because it's unwritten that you're going to deliver a level of service that the person is going to want to make sure that they compensate you. So, hang on one second. Hang on.
That's true.
She asked a question about luxury, and then so we're answering a question about luxury and whether or not, because we're here tonight to determine who Anguilla wants to be, because that's what it's what does Anguilla want to be? What does Anguilla want to represent? That's what we're here to have this dialogue about. It's not about us telling you who you want to be. It's tell us who you are. If you're tranquility wrapped in blue, then we find a way to make that work. We find a way to immerse and cascade that across all of your tourism office. But I think we have to be honest about the authenticity. See, the interesting thing is when you live amongst a brand, sometimes you can become desensitized to the very things that outsiders see. You're here every day. But I got 2 calls from 2 very prominent media outlets this week and called Hayden Hughes about a shooting that I don't think he even knew took place at the time. So we have to, again, remember that we have to be able to own what we say we are. In our focus groups, as your daughter has done focus groups, distinction is what we need to create. How are we distinctively different from the emerging regions who are doing a better job at service? It's not that we're doing a bad job at service, but they're doing a better job of delivering the value proposition.
Should we be working then on distinguishing ourselves first before we start putting a promise out there?
No.
Regardless of what the promise is.
It starts with creating the promise that can be adopted by the people who have to deliver it. Because it's up to them to embrace that promise, have the confidence and wear it like a badge of honor, and then that then cascades across every touch point. When I speak to young Anguillians, as I've spoke to them all week, some of them feel discouraged. They feel as though they don't really know what they're doing with their lives, what they can look forward to. They don't understand how important of a role each of them play in tourism. Each person plays an important role in tourism.
I totally 100% agree with you, and I think everybody in this room will agree with you. The changes need to be made. It's very, very difficult to turn this ship around.
Well, first, I don't believe that it is difficult to turn this ship around. I have every confidence that Anguillians can take ownership, which is why what I believe is a strong tagline is our island, your home, which is a tagline that I feel very strongly about. The reason I feel strongly about that tagline is that as I've been meeting with media and journalists over the last several months, I can talk to them about your beaches, and many of them can argue that there are beautiful beaches in Turks and Caicos, and there are beautiful beaches all over the world. And so when I look at my list of what is distinctively Anguilla, the thing that gets them excited the most, the thing that gets journalists excited the most is the fact that Anguillians own their land. That is the one thing that they say to me, Marvette, when you've got a new identity, we will write all day about Anguilla because we can buy land in America. We can buy land in America, but we can't walk with the same prideful heart and spirit and cultural heritage that Anguillians can walk with, knowing that 95% of this land is owned by them. So to me, when I speak to people all over the world, they don't talk to me about a chef. They give me a specific name of a chef that changed their life when they came to Anguilla. They don't speak to me about a cab ride. They tell me a particular driver that changed their life when they came to Anguilla. They don't speak to me about a bar. They talk to me about Elvis, who changed their life when they were in Anguilla. They don't speak to me about anything in general. They speak specifically about an Anguillian who changed their life. And that's a very potent currency that I believe we need to be selling all over the world. Because while you may believe that people come here for beaches, I'm not standing in front of Anguilla speaking as a brand strategist. I'm speaking as a consumer who came to this island and continues to come to this island and was hearing the ills and the issues that people were having, and I was honest enough to share them with Hayden with no agenda. And Hayden will tell you, I worked with Anguilla a year and a half before I saw a check from the government of Anguilla. So I'm not here for anything other than to share the truths that I believe can help us deliver a stronger product. Do we have the product? Absolutely. But my friends and clients come here, and after 2 days, they're calling me and saying, I want to go somewhere else. I love it here, but what can I do? Is there can I hike? Is there a trail? Because the beaches, people are fatigued of the beaches. Some people will come to read a book and spend a day at the beach, but we have to realize that consumer is emerging. And I believe, just like Mercedes can offer different levels of class for their consumers, why can't we give people an experience of going down the rope at Little Bay? Why can't we give people the experience, but it all stems from the culture and heritage of Anguilla. So for me, it's about creating distinction. And when you talk to people all over the world, they have a sense of belonging here. They have a sense of feeling at home when they're here. So to me, we believe that what we're presenting is a value proposition that is believable, that people will find when they come here. I personally don't know if we can continue to say that we're a tranquil place when I'm calling Hayden saying, what do I say to journalists who call me and say that there was a shooting somewhere or there was a killing? Perception travels halfway around the world before reality even gets out of bed. So the reality is, whatever is happening in Anguilla, we may know that, okay, it happened to this particular guy, maybe he did some things that he shouldn't have done and that was retaliation, but when that news travels to Europe, that consumer doesn't know the backstory. So when you say tranquility wrapped in blue, we have to live it every day. We can't live it in a fragmented way. So if I went to 4 destinations, to Europe, to London, to France, and to North America, there were 4 different taglines. In fact, in St. Martin today, when we traveled on Saturday, there was one billboard that said, worlds away from anything you've ever experienced. Then I took 10 steps to the left and saw another billboard that said tranquility wrapped in blue. We don't even know who we are 9 miles across the water. So how can we potentially know who we are all over the world? So we're here tonight to hear, what does Anguilla want to be? And then we want to help you reposition whatever that is.
Can we have different speakers?
I was just wondering how our home is better when they're
Yeah, good evening everybody. A couple of things. It seems to me that, yes, we do have problems. And I don't think anybody can say to us that the problems will go away if we change that. Okay, we still have to work on our problems. And I think we need to accept that, embrace it, and deal with that. Because whatever we move to, if we don't fix it, it's going to be a failure. Okay, I do embrace what Melinda said a while ago, that you can incorporate one of these brands. I like our Island Your Home, but I like it with tranquility wrapped in blue, our Island Your Home. Also, I really like your passion in all of this, and I've heard it before. But I think it needs a little more, not your passion, but we as a destination, we need to fix our problems. Everything that you say about Blowing Point and everywhere else is true, but they need to be fixed. We can't make them an issue if we don't wholeheartedly and collectively embrace them, accept them, and fix them. It's a matter of someone has another thing asking for tips. The Port Authority needs to make a policy. This is what it's going to be, and enforce it. There's so many things here that don't have teeth. They're said, but never enforced. That's a big problem. And until we get that fixed, nothing you bring here is going to work.
Well, we do know that we can't put frosting on a cake that won't rise. So we're not has to be done. I certainly came in with an approach of, I'm just going to be resourceful and work to get it done, rather than wait to find the money to get it done. So we recognize all the work that has to be done, and we're certainly willing to help Anguilla get where it needs to be once you determine again where that is and who that is. You have to first define who you are before you can sell and position yourself around the world, and then we create messaging around that. It doesn't go that far.
It's okay, I think my voice is loud enough.
The other lady.
Oh, so sorry.
Good evening. All the pictures I looked at tonight, when I saw them, even without a new tagline, I thought Tranquility Wrapped in Blue. I grew up here, I live here, I love here. And one of the reasons I love it is because it's tranquil. I think Anguillians made Anguilla tranquil before we even marketed it, before it was even out there as a tagline. And my question is, if we change it to our island, your home, Mr. Hughes or any other government official is still going to get a call and they still have to explain any shooting or anything that goes wrong. And I think that as a people, specifically as a government, I think what we've got to do is to do the work that we need to do in order to remain tranquil. We need to keep our tranquility because our island is ours and we own it so much because it is tranquil. And people love it as their home because it is tranquil. And so to compromise and say, okay, well, we're not tranquil anymore, so let's change. I think that is the wrong mentality. And if it is something that we are owning it, because as we go into the future, one of the things that is going to be extremely distinct from everywhere else where there's one brand is tranquility. So we will always have a product to offer that will always sell because a lot of places won't have it. And if there's something that we have that others don't have and it's getting scarcer, then it is more of a reason to protect the tranquility and use it in the future. Yep. So I think stepping back on it, and Mr. Thompson, I believe, I love the idea. I do like the three things that you taglines. And yeah, when I have friends who I bring here from Atlanta, and they're like, when they come, I say, welcome home, and they're like, thank you. They acknowledge it's their home, but why? They say they sleep better when they're here. They wake up earlier, but they feel so refreshed because it is tranquil. And may I say, tranquility in Anguilla is not just beaches. The people are tranquil. The park is tranquil. You know, just even waiting long in the restaurant is something unique to Anguilla for food because you get to chill. You take it slow. That's tranquil. And so I think we need to protect something that we have that others don't have instead of trying to accommodate what's happening out there. One of the things in Anguilla is that we have a great opportunity which we're not using is to learn from other people's mistakes. And I don't think we do that enough. We need to do it more. Even how many cars are on the road. If it wasn't for a recession, I think we would have more traffic jams. We have to keep things tranquil. If it means a little bit stricter rules with our youth, if it means a little bit curtailing with our cars, whatever we've got to do it in order to maintain our product, which is a peaceful one. So the government needs to crack down on wherever the little elements of crime are hard. And we as a people need to train up our children better. We have got to do what we've got to do on this side.
So again, just before the next person speaks, we didn't come here to change anything. So I have to reiterate that. When you do forensics on any brand, you have to share the brand attributes and the brand truths. And so that is why we're asking the question of learning and understanding where the tranquility lies and how it's applicable and how do we create distinction. How do we differentiate Anguilla? So it's not about not being tranquil, it's not about what we want to change, it's about having spirited dialogue, which I believe we're having as to how we want to come to a cohesive brand. The only reason that we're standing here today is because Anguilla is a bit schizophrenic, as you call it, in the branding world, because several regions and territories are using one or another tagline. Even some of the several websites that are associated with Anguilla, they use different typography, different taglines, different fonts, different marks. So the question is, you have to tell the world who you are. Have you been owning Tranquility Wrapped in Blue in totality?
Well, the marketing company that's in charge of our global branding are the ones that should set the standards and enforce them with the people who are marketing Anguilla elsewhere in the world. Make sure that the same tagline is being used. Make sure that the same fonts are being used. Make sure that the same Pantone colors are being used. That's the job of you. That's
exactly, and that's why this process started in June. This long process of what we're standing here today talking about started with me in June. In June. And that process started, just so you know, when I started with Anguilla, the first thing I asked for was the brand guide. I said, where's the brand guide? I worked with Apple, I worked with Microsoft. Can you send me the brand guide? I got an email back that said there was no brand guide. Then I said, well, can you send me the Pantone colors? Because we need to get some cards made and some collateral made for CTO. And I was told, we don't have Pantone colors. Then I started asking for a photo library. Then I started getting directed to about 20 different photographers who all wanted me to buy photos. And then I wrote back and said, where's the photo library? Then the next question I said is, Anguilla's been representing and selling tourism for 20, 30 years. Who's mining the farm? Where are the materials? Where are the assets? So I asked those questions. Then I asked, where are the visual assets? So Apple, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, a brand would never put the potency of their brand into the hands of any person to market it as they will. Then I came here and I asked a question. I said, why is it that hotels have more currency than the island it sits on? When I speak to people and say Anguilla, they say, oh, Captaluca, Viceroy Anguilla, Malohani. But they can tell you very little about the island in which those resorts sit. So I brought all of that intel back to the ministry and said, you guys have a very serious problem, because the day will come when the individuals who are coming to Anguilla will age out of caring. They won't care anymore. They won't care about the tranquil beaches anymore. And what have we done to speak to the new generation, the people who we should be speaking to in multilingual ways? We can't speak to all consumers the same way. You can't put the same diet of food on the plate and expect everybody to eat it. Some people are vegan. Some people like all sorts of different cuisines. And to me, when I bring friends to Anguilla, they go to Catouche. They go down the rope at Little Bay. They want to see the fountain. They want to do more than lay on a beach. For 2 days, that's great. But perhaps many can find a tranquil, quiet, private beach in Miami. So we have to figure out, how do we create distinction and then further explore the ways to build Anguilla's brand extensions. We've got salt ponds. We've got people who have salt. We've got, why do I walk down the street in New York City and I see t-shirts from all over the world, but I never see, as much as people love and are passionate about Anguilla, where is that badge of honor being carried around the world? Where? How? What products? So there are many things that we need to think about, and we can change what we can change. I'm not here to be a politician. I'm not here to tell the government of Anguilla how to do their job. That's not my job. I'm here to do what I do, which is brands, and build great brands, to category leadership. Every brand that I've ever worked with, I've led to category leadership, because I've had to tell them some really hard truths that they didn't want to hear. But if they digest everything that was said and took it in the spirit in which it was given, we just want to get to the core attributes of who Anguilla is. What is the authentic core of Anguilla's brand? 16 miles, there's 33 beaches, there's certainly enough for everybody, but I don't think that we should be stuck in selling tranquility only. I think that we have to determine tonight, maybe next week, next year, hopefully not next year, who we are. Who do we want to be? How do we want people to talk about us? Well, right now people talk very passionately and endearingly about the people of Anguilla. That's what I want to sell. I want to sell the people of Anguilla. And if we can cushion that in tranquility, then that's fantastic. But we want to hear from the room what you think, how you think Anguilla can be positioned and distinct. Because we've got some emerging markets like Croatia. We've got some emerging markets like Mykonos. We've got some emerging markets that are right on our tail. And in fact, we've got some emerging markets that are dipping into our Christmas festive bookings. So we want to hear everyone's opinions, feedback, thought, wisdom, because we're not the smartest. My pastor always said, if you're the smartest one in your group, then get a new group. So I'm interested in hearing all the wisdom that everyone can share so that we can go back and do the best job that we can do for Anguilla. But we're not here to tell Anguilla who you are. We're here to hear who Anguilla wants to be.
Amen.
Thank you for the presentation. This has been a truly learning experience. Learning words like brand promise and staying true to who you are, not just dismissive of when incidents do not reflect who you are, but realizing that we have to be, whatever it's going to be, we have to be true to it every day. Of the three, I would say the least that I favor is the real island living. I'm not sure that I get the emotion in real island living, although when you analyze, and I would imagine there are the pictorials to go with it and so on, I guess you can build the feeling around it. But for me, from a word standpoint, I think real island living probably is my least. The best kept secret, I think, is also, it says what it has to say. But from a futuristic standpoint, I think that Anguilla wants to be not so much a secret, but positioned where people know who we are. And because they know who we are open to coming in and seeing us. So for me, best kept secret, it's nice, but I think we want to blossom. We have been a best kept secret for the last 30 years, and I think for the next few years going forward, we want to try and be a buzzword out there in people's names. And so I tend to favor
Share the secret is a sub.
or share the secret. Also nice, but I think I'm really invigorated by, sorry, just left it off. Our island, your home. Because I think what it does for me, it connects our history. There's a special history about Anguilla. Our island, when you compare the histories of other islands, we're really like no other in terms of the resilience of the people, the fact that we had very little, so that when people come to our shores and see the life that we have, but when they peer back and go to our museums and see the life that we came from, that our island allows every Anguillian and every true resident of Anguilla to be able to draw from our past and say to people, our island, in it says a lot, because for me, people, when you say our island, the next question is, okay, what about your island? Which in itself is a conversation. And to me, our island, it connects our forebears. It respects them. Because our island, for me to say our island, my island, I have to reflect on how it became my island. And even for the visitor who is living on Anguilla, he has to connect, or she has to connect. Why is it you can say our island? There must be some defining factor that happened to you that brought you here, and therefore you, if you are a true resident of Anguilla, a non-Anguillian, living amongst us, then you should be able to be familiar and be able to speak to our history that says our island. And then my home, or your home, allows you to speak to the welcoming nature of who Anguillians are, and the unpretentious. Because if you are really making a place their home, you are welcoming them to you. Not to a hotel, so that when they come to a property, that those service persons can say, welcome home. This is your home, and we will make you feel a part of. Kick off your shoes, be a part of us. So, the your home for me evokes warmth. When you tell somebody, welcome, this is our island, your home, it is saying, be a part of me, be a part of who we are. And you can imagine, for me, when we talk about the spurts of what is happening in our island, it allows us to have a conversation, say, it's our island, it's your home, it has some little faults, the furniture isn't in every place that it should be, and things might be, you might come home and you meet the slippers by the door when they shouldn't be, but this is our home. So it takes account for the fact that there might be some things that are happening here that are not the best. It takes account of that fact. But at the same time, it's your home. So the people who come from their home, the most pristine environment, will also have some flaws in their home. But when you are able to say, welcome to my home, you are putting everything out. The good, the bad, there's a little bit of everything in Anguilla. But by saying, it's our island, we own up to it. We own up to the fact that there are some shootings, there are some robberies. You might, when you come here, be a victim of that, and we do apologize that you've come to our home and that has happened. But it is our home. And so, to me, it transcends. Remember, and I've learned this just last night when Margaret and the team were on our show. I never knew about brand promise. I now know. So brand promise means that every single day, we have to own up. So tranquility wrapped in blue, for me, I loved it. When this first idea came of rebranding, I was like, they can tell you, I was one of the first ones. Why would we even think of changing tranquility wrapped in blue? But now, if you tell me that because of a brand promise, I have to own up, I cannot say that Anguilla is tranquil.
Not at all.
But I can say, our island, your home, we have some flaws. We have some flaws. That's part of being at home. Home isn't perfect. It isn't perfect. But we welcome you, and we will do our best to make you feel not like a guest, but a part of us. So for me, I'm truly loving our island. It allows me to smile in the worst of times, because I can smile with an explanation. It's our home. There are some things that are happening, but look, let me take you to some of the other parts of the home that are truly beautiful and represent who we, in general, really are.
Thank you, Josie, for sharing that. As Jake shared in the presentation, it's also about how you immerse and cascade our island, your home, into the different print campaigns. All of your written and visual assets will be reflective of our island, your home. And we could say things like home to the world's friendliest people, home to culinary excellence, home to the world's best beaches, home to any of the other things that we want to claim as our own. So I think that we certainly had a long list after 2.5, almost 3 months of forensics, and home, belong, and welcome were the 3 words that stood the strongest. So in our focus groups, when we really spoke very specifically about what would make people come back to a place, and when we started to hear about emerging regions that had really blue, beautiful water, people actually said, you know, if I had to choose between places with beautiful beaches and not so great people, I choose the great people, because I want to feel comfortable when I lay my head at night knowing that the people genuinely care. They may not be perfect in every application, but they're doing the best that they can do. And when you do that, people become endeared to you. And for us, those are the words that continue to stick against the wall and made us just simply want to ask, the allegiance to tranquility wrapped in blue is great, but we just wanted to hear how we can go back and cascade that across your food, your people, and today was the first time we heard that the people were tranquil. No one shared with us that the people were tranquil. We heard a lot about the people, but not the word tranquil applied to people. So we thank you for that discovery.
We're energetic.
Pardon?
We're not necessarily tranquil, we're energetic and spirited people.
Well, again, this is
Some would even say fighters. in a good sense.
right. Well, we never in our research heard the people, which is why we peeled away, Josie, on that sheet that we passed around. We put in the room the word tranquil up to everything, and everyone said it's not believable against anything but their beaches. So that's why we took the beaches off and then put the food up. Would you look at a plate of food in an ad and say tranquility wrapped in blue? It kind of really doesn't connect. But again, we're happy to do whatever Anguillians want us to do. Does anyone else want to share?
Good evening. I think everybody knows me. I'm Quincy Jr. I represent Royal Caribbean Resort and Spa. And I just want to say that for us, from where we stand, there is nothing tranquil about 1,600 people that we're going to bring into the country. There's nothing tranquil about what we're going to do. There's nothing tranquil about, as Anguilla develops, as more hotels and more resorts come about, as more people come to the country, it gets less and less tranquil. We operate in a situation where we're looking at a brand new target market. There is nothing that's going to be tranquil about people that are going to be here for conferences. So I'm not saying that anything that was up on the board is right. I'm just saying that we need to be able to evolve our thinking and be able to encompass what we have, what is given to us, and come up with a new idea. Not just hold it so there that there's nothing, it can't change, it can't work. So be able to grow, so if you come here without the idea to be able, without the possibility of evolving yourself, evolving your thinking, then maybe you have wasted your time as opposed to saying they have wasted their time.
I'm the creative one, I don't talk that much. So, I see it from a branding standpoint.
Can you talk a little bit, you've talked a lot about research, the research that you've done. Can you tell us a little bit about which research you've done, the demographics you spoke to? You put a lot of stuff up there about the definition of luxury, and I got the impression that that was general luxury and not necessarily luxury Caribbean travel or luxury travel. I'm just curious as to where the definition, what specifically the definition question was, and what demographics have you spoken to regarding their feelings? Because you mentioned a lot of your friends, your personal friends, have come here and after 2 days not had anything to do. I run a restaurant down in Sandy Ground. I talk to the travelers 7 days a week, 3 meals a day. I'm still looking to hire a waitress. And I talk to people who just, they love that they're at a different beach every single day. So I don't come across the people who are bored going to a beach after 1 or 2 days. So I'm just curious where all that information came from. And I mean, I am a fan of Tranquility Wrapped in Blue. I thought it's done a very good job. I'm not sure it's been utilized to the extent that it could in marketing. I do like many people have said tonight, perhaps keeping track of Tranquility Wrapped in Blue and using some of the additional taglines. I just did a quick Google search with all the keywords that have been brought up tonight. Life, island, home, and there are pages and pages and pages of island real estate companies that we're going to be fighting against for a spot to get on the first page of Google. Whereas if you Google Tranquility Wrapped in Blue, I stopped after scanning through 6 pages. They were all about Anguilla. Every single one of them is about So I'm curious what the market research said, and I'm not sure why you're shaking your head at me.
Hold on, no, I'm just saying,
Could I give you a real?
Let me just say one statement, and you guys could have the floor back. Island boy, creative one. People hate changes, right?
Yes, they do.
I mean, we love growing up, we love being in the comfort of our own zone and whatever. But Margaret said a few times over the course of these 2 days, anything that doesn't evolve, die, right?
Yes.
So, do we want to stay here and continue to relive our heyday and our highlight and whatever? Or do we want to adapt with what's out there, right? I mean, talking about research, I just did something real quick over here. Coca-Cola started in 1885 until 2003, and now it's 2014. They went through 20 taglines. Why? And why they are successful and why they own a lot of shares and globally is because they adapt. They adapt to the changes, right? I think that is what we need to do as the people is to adapt to that next level. Talking about Google, I mean, nobody really want to Google tranquility rapid. It's logical.
You know what? They do. They do Google this.
No, wait a second.
I want to say something. I wanted to say this for the last 30 minutes. Margaret was talking about change. You're talking about change, that Anguilla needs to get with it and change. We're not selling change. You want to go horseback riding, go to Wyoming. You want to go casinos, go to Las Vegas. You want quiet beaches, come here. We don't want jet skis here. Hayden is trying to push jet skis right now. Okay? We don't want jet skis here. We want tranquility wrapped in blue. No, we need heads in beds. That's what we need.
That's beautiful.
If you did and you went to my daughter's Facebook website, facebook.com/WorldBeaches, go take a look at the response to the various photos that she puts up. When they're beaches, she'll get 300, 400, 500, 600 likes, comments, feedbacks. When she does her drone videos, she goes into thousands and thousands of shares. When she puts pictures of food, gorgeous villas, people, she drops into the low hundreds.
Because it's people, and that's why we need to raise the
They
people.
respond to that phenomenal, tranquil turquoise that surrounds us. I'm not saying you caught us really well. I think some of the messaging is good. I love home. I think an earlier message, our biggest problem is execution. I'd love every customs immigration agent to go, welcome home, with a smile. When we were at Puerto Escondido a couple of months ago, people were so friendly, but what blew me away, when we were leaving a little prop plane, everybody was not just friendly, but I looked out the window and the 5 airport staff for the airline waved with smiles goodbye to us as we taxied away. You remember that forever. Where else do you see that? Friendly people. It's got to carry through. Branding is not just about a tagline. It's from the first moment that the customs agent says, welcome home, to the very last moment that we have those people saying, goodbye, come home soon. That's when we'll have it nailed.
So
we gotta execute.
So we have to arm Anguillians with that. We have to give them that. I mean, you answered your own question. Can they? Because I've seen Anguillians waving as people have left on planes. So, right, exactly.
guys who all want to go to the club. It's so important. Regardless of all the people that's not going on. The real people of the island, we don't have to tell them a thing. They're just cool. They just like people. We can put billboards saying tourism is key. They aren't like people. That just turns tourists off. Right?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, this is not a jet ski debate.
Thank you.
Wait, to Susan's point, Susan, I am not pushing jet skis.
It seems like
You and I live in the same village. If you want to have a conversation with me, that's easy, because your daughter is my cousin.
I want you to.
All right, so we can have that conversation. But be that as it may, I want to say this. I want to say this related to tourism. Tourism is the lifeblood of Anguilla. A lot of people have come to Anguilla and made Anguilla its home. And we have welcomed you with open arms.
Exactly.
I remember as a child, my father would take me down to the cove, take the children down to the cove, and a lot of families would be down at the cove in Mother's Bay. And there were the coca plums and grape trees, and we would picnic, and we would have a good time. But when the hotels came to Anguilla, we sacrificed all that. We stopped going, not because we didn't want, not because we couldn't go, but because we welcomed those visitors. We understood that those visitors were giving us an opportunity to have some economic empowerment. So we stopped going to Mondays Bay on the Sundays and we gave up the cove and we lost our coca plums forever.
True.
We've lost the fishing rocks over at Cocoloba, where Cocoloba used to be. We lost all of our traditional lifestyle of Anguilla. We lost because we welcome everyone into our home to be part of us. But sometimes, and I'm saying this as an Anguillian, not as a politician, because politics is temporary, but I'm an Anguillian forever. I say this as an Anguillian. I get the sense that we welcome a lot of people to our shows, but we have lost who we are because we have been taken over. And we have been dictated to.
Exactly.
And we have been told where to go, what to have, and what not to have in our country. Your home, my home, our home. I get that sense. Now, we envision having tourism as our economic base because we have beautiful beaches or people and so forth. Back in the early 1980s, as I said before, Sue and Robin Ricketts were the catalysts to make this happen. And they trained people, the Royals, they trained people well, they did a good job, they took care of the people. All right? At the time when we speaking about tourism, we were a population of about 6,300, 6,400 people. We had more boats roaming in Anguilla around the streets than people. We would go to St. Martin. It would take an hour to get from Anguilla to St. Martin on the Still in the Silver Star, and there were more animals on those boats, pigeon peas and carts traveling to St. Martin than people. We eat out a living without anybody coming to our rescue. We found a way to survive on this barren rock because Josie spoke earlier, and she spoke about how we came here. We came here not by choice, but we came here on boats. And when the persons who came, who brought us here, realized that we could not grow tobacco and could not grow the cash crops, they left us here. And our story is unique in that those people who were left here, us, they stayed here and they divided the land among themselves, and that is why we own the land today, the 95% of that land. And even when there were great droughts, and we cried out for help, it came from London. And this is no disrespect, all right? They say it came from London Parliament, not a single white man dwelled among them. So we were given the option to go to Guyana, to take us all up and take us to Guyana and Dominica to live. But our forebearers decided, you know what? We will die here, whether or not we have anything in this country. And we stayed here. So we are here today. We have transformed our economy because of tourism. 6,300 people. But today, we are on the verge of 14,000 people. And when I go around my community,
I meet young men and young women who have not worked in 6, 7, 8 years because the jobs are not coming fast enough. So now we have transformed the economy in that it is not well and good for us to go to school without shoes. Because I went to school without shoes. I went to primary school without shoes. And I see a lot of people in here who went to primary school without shoes. Delroy is one of them. We got electricity when I was in second farm, third farm in high school. The road wasn't paved from south to west end, it was all a dirt road. And there were all them hoteliers who didn't want the roads paved because it messed with the charm of the island. So we must eat dust for persons who come for a week or two. Alright? So now, when I go in my community, campaigning, because it's an election cycle, I meet so many people who think that tourism have not worked for them. I meet so many angry young people who are not only angry with me and angry with you, but angry with those who have come to live among us and talk about going and robbing them and doing things to them, and you have to try to discourage this. I know there are people in this room who encounter this daily. So what do we do?
Involve them.
There's a quote that I heard, innovate or die. The demographics is changing. The traveler is changing. They're getting younger. And if you look, I subscribe to Forbes magazine. And a lot of the billionaires that are going on that billionaire list now are people in their 20s and early 30s who are different to Generation X. Totally different. And they are traveling more and they're looking for experiences and so forth. And if we don't innovate, we will die. But not only us will die. This place that we call home, that we welcome you to, you will run from too. Because there are too many angry young people. Too many people in Angola who are disenfranchised. And let me tell you something, we have some young men. Brilliant young men. This guy, Shamal Gaskin, he just won a scholarship to go off to Barbados at one of the most prestigious science programs in the world. But what is his prospects in Angola? What is his prospects? What is the prospects for these young people? So, some of us, so we have a nice house on the rocks, and we're fine with that. Some of us have been able to establish a restaurant, and we're fine with that. Some of us have villas, and we're fine with that. And we're happy we have an income coming in from our traditional guests and so forth. But what about that significant portion of us who feel that there's no place in Angola for them anymore? We have to really think at what we are doing and what we're saying here, right? If we don't innovate, we will die.
Provide for Angola.
That's not what I'm getting at. I'm not against rebranding Anguilla. I think you presented some lovely ideas, very professional, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. But I don't have a clear vision yet of what we're talking about evolving or changing Anguilla into. I just don't have that yet. And I think that's really critical to everybody here. I think that we need to protect and perfect what we have before we start to become a party scene and, things that people go to other places for.
What party have we presented here this evening?
Well, but see, that's my point. We don't know what you're talking about transitioning Anguilla into. When you talk about the new market, what does it want? What are we going to provide to them? We need a picture of that.
Okay.
And this one, what we're looking for, I would think, is a different demographic. We need to have all layers. We need to appeal to all types of people. Not necessarily changing who we are, but embracing the fact that there's a different customer.
I have that, Josie, but what is that different demographic?
I don't want to shout across the room. I don't want to shout across the room, but Sue Ricketts said it earlier. Heads in beds.
Heads in beds.
Heads in beds.
I think what's happening
If you
is
increase the number of heads in beds, the problems that I speak to will go away because they will have to hire.
Possibly we can't, because every island destination in this region is hurting from the economic downturn. Every single one is. And it is turning around. They're coming back, it is turning around. And we're not talking about dealing with the same slump, the same conditions that we have been dealing with.
Just have one thing to say. I've walked in the tourism industrial field and was half a capture as a supervisor. I have walked through rooms many times and the guests are there complaining. They only have one thing to do, they're not on the beach.
Exactly. Right.
How much times can you come? And another problem is, they come with kids. First they get married, wonderful. You will love having them here, that's beautiful because I want to be your weddings. The second thing is, they come, they have a 2-year-old child. Within a few more years, that child is grown up. What will the child do? You go to Viceroy, you go to Cachuca, you go to the new renovated Marijuana. The child is there in a center. How much times can you have the child just there finger painting, doing other things? Come on, get with the program. You have to cater for other things other than the 2 people on the beach. What are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do with the children. You're going to just leave them there, sit down all day, finger painting, they're going to go on the beach, play with water. You're going to get bored. And then guess what? The families are not going to come back here because you're going to say, my kids aren't happy. They have to please the kids. Those are their future. That is their market. That is how they're going to get their money. They're investing in their kids. What are you doing about your kids on island? So you have to see about it. Everything comes back to how you put things into perspective. Yes. I got godchildren. I don't have any kids right now, but believe you me, every day those children have their books. I don't play with them. I'm like their daddy. Every single one of them. I don't mess. Christmas comes, they get whatever they get. I make sure they're happy, and I make sure that they are educated. That's one of the most important things. And another thing is, like the young man here going off, what are we going to do? What is he going to come back here to do? If we don't do something about our future, if we don't revamp ourselves, if we don't come up with new ideas, we are sending our children away, and they're not coming back. They're going away and they're not coming back. If you want to bring back every Anguillian that is away in these prestigious places to come back and work, what a glorious place we could actually have. But first, you have to get with the program. I mean, like, I love all of Marvette's presentations. I love the one with our island your home. We kind of swap with both of them. We're going to use that first with Tranquility Wrapped in Bloom because the thing is, we have to look at it as a market. I work in a market. I have a marketing manager. And we rebranded our company 3 times now. If you don't rebrand, you're going to die. I'll be blatant to say, we just took over Purple Rose, and it's being rebranded. If it's not rebranded, it's going to die. Simple. These things are so true. You have to learn to realize that it is our home, we love it, but at some point, there has to be a massive change. Otherwise, things will die. I sat down with those ladies at Purple Rose and I spoke to them about branding, about marketing, and there are things I didn't even know about. Yes. And once you start to educate people about this process, then things will change. Without it, we cannot go forward. So it's a decision that we have to make as a people. We're either going to stay as we are or die. And I can tell you the truth. I have already started companies in St. Martin, and I'm going to be going to Santo Domingo, and I have companies in the States. So the process is this. I only stayed in Angola and worked because the hotel said, don't go nowhere. Because I was already foot to the States to go work with big designers. Because they were asking for me.
We need you here.
But I stayed here to develop this situation.
History.
So we have to decide what are we going to do as a people. Are we going to rebrand and move forward? Are we going to keep the same brand and move forward? But how are we going to present it to the world when the world is already
look at it from a particular point of view.
I mean, I want to say something pretty quick. I could back what this guy say 100%. Oh, sorry.
I would like some elaboration of the rebranding, specifically what it's about, because I have a villa, I have families. They come here, they go snorkeling, they go sailing to all the keys, etc. So I want to know specifically when you said nothing to do, what you're thinking about.
Well, a lot of what speaking to Hayden's point, when you look at the Forbes list of billionaires and millionaires, they're getting younger and younger. There's a lot of tech money. I was out in Silicon Valley a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of textile money, a lot of younger people with liquid income, quite frankly. And to Lauren's point, a lot of families come to Anguilla, but the decisions now are being made by the children because they are in search of a selfie. They're content curators. They want to go where they can post more than a beach.
Yep.
And when you're fueled by gaining likes and friends and shares and creating social engagement, you want to one-up your friends by showing them what you are experiencing. So what we're hoping to do through a rebrand is to peel back the layers of Anguilla's trunk. The trunk of the tree is the brand of Anguilla. And what we're hoping to do is that once we give people more to talk about than real estate, because right now people talk largely about two things, a property and the people. So if we can create a balanced scale so that they can understand all of the experiences that are in Anguilla, then I believe that we will see people being able to share experiences that speak beyond a day at the beach.
Yeah,
A day at the
I need
beach.
some elaboration on what the content is.
What the experiences are?
Are we talking about jet skis? What are we
No, I'm not involved in the jet ski discussion. The content is anything. I mean, I spent several hours with Calvert yesterday talking about Anguilla's history, talking about the fountain, talking about the spring, talking about all the assets that are here.
All of this in my bill. I have a booklet of all these things which I give to the guests.
Great. Well, that has to marry itself up to the messaging and the positioning from an island perspective. Individual hoteliers and stakeholders do a great job of creating those experiences for their guests. But those experiences should live even if they arrive to your villa because see, you've done a great job of getting them there. But the first thing is getting them interested, and the second thing is getting them here. Once they're here, of course you can share with them what they can do, but our job is to put the head in the bed.
To continue what I was just started off. No, it's okay, I got a big mouth. I wanted to input on what the gentleman was just mentioning because then I had the opportunity to be chauffeured around, as I say, because I'm not a taxi driver. And these people that came was coming to the island for a pretty long time, and they had these 4 little kids, and they were coming twice a year.
Billionaires.
And I thought they were millionaires until I told my wife their names, and she Googled them, and they were billionaires. This lady single-handedly feed children in Africa, and something like that. Anyhow, I was the only person who used to drive them. They came, I did that for like 7 years. And all of a sudden they stopped. And what this guy mentioned, the kids have nothing to do. We haven't seen them in about 3 years, I think. That's it, they never came back. What I'm saying, and I'm a pretty good listener. I listen, that's why you have to have my mouth all night, and then I speak after. And when they spoke, I listened. And one of the things she told me is that upscale tourism got you to where you are, but she doesn't know if you can take us any further. That's one of the things she said, okay? And to contribute on what you guys are speaking about tonight, I love your idea. Yes. Because when you hear the word, our home, you know how much weight, our island, your home, you know how much weight that carries? It carries a lot of weight. It carries a lot of weight because When you hear the word ours, you know what I mean? That means you owned it.
Yes.
How many people in the world in the Caribbean can say they own 95% of their land? So when you hear our home, that's because it is really ours.
Yeah.
Most people can't say that. We could. So when you hear our home, our island, sorry, your home, it carries a lot of weight.
Yep.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
When you see the disenfranchised spirit of a young person, it's very difficult. It's difficult. I think it's what motivates us and what keeps.
That's the passion. That's right.
When you're able to speak about ownership, and when I spoke to Calvert yesterday, and he spoke about the fact that Anguillians treat everyone equally because they were never slaves, so they don't see the white man the same way that we do in America. I had never had anyone explain that to me in such a powerful way. See, we can buy our way to ownership in America, but you had people that came before you that thought enough about you to protect your future. And that's not really happening in America. So when I talk to the young people who have done their part, they've gone to school and they've excelled in their grades, I think about the conversations that we're having right now, and I think, what are we really doing to create a fertile environment for them to inherit, to continue the prideful journey of which they can say, our island, your home. I think I see a lot of debate from people who cannot say that it's their island, but it certainly is their home. And I think that there has to be a more harmonious balance between Anguillians deciding who they want to be, and then the people who have called Anguilla home deciding that that's where they want to continue to live. But I do think that we have to, when you know better, you do better. And when you understand the plight of young people, I think about growing up and depending on the people who were older than I was to really illuminate the path. So I think that we certainly have been living with a lot of this intel, and we do believe that Anguilla really is a peerless island, a word that I've been using quite often, peerless, and I started using peerless because there is no place like Anguilla for a number of reasons. But what I will say is that when Anguilla is rebranded or not, much of the way that I will position Anguilla will be largely around the people and the sense of pride that every person will have to carry when they walk out of this door. If you can proudly profess to someone, our island, your home, and carry that in a way that it'll help you pick up the garbage on the side of the road, help you pick up that smile that may not be on your face, but you'll know that every single person, whether you work at Best Buy or whether you work on the ferry, you represent Anguilla's future. And nothing we do, we can go back and give you all the sizzle, but if the steak is not what people want to buy, there's nothing we can do to make you any glossier, any flossier. But what I will say, as I said on the radio show last night, is that you can't get points today for yesterday's game. And I think that Anguillians have been blessed to continue to be riding off the fumes of yesterday. And what we're hoping is that we can't be too intoxicated in not realizing that we have to chart a very strategic future. All of us, the three of us, have all worked with titans in business, from Steve Jobs to Phil Knight. And if each of them can sit in a room and honestly say, where am I failing? Where are my weaknesses? Where are my voids? And help me fill them to people who do what we do, I certainly think that We can't continue to contribute and mask our numbers and say, oh, the whole region is failing. Because then we could say that the whole region has what Anguilla has, and we know that they don't.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Talking forever about this topic is really, a good discussion happening. But I think, I'm not a chairperson, but in a matter of interest of time, we can pick 2 or 3 people, we can continue for 5 or 10 minutes, just to, because I'm sure everyone has some place to go.
So, if I may, I don't know if my earlier when I said that I like Tranquility Rapid Blue, I don't know if that was misunderstood as I don't want to change it. I'm not against that. My background is in destination marketing and tourism marketing. I rebranded Boston, Massachusetts, Providence, Rhode Island, and Worcester, Massachusetts, from the Northeast. The reason I asked the demographics question is because I want to know where we're getting the information from to consider rebranding. The billionaires and the millionaires have a lot of money to spend. Middle-class America, middle-class Europe have more money to spend. So I'm curious to know what we're looking at marketing to, because those low-number, high-end spenders spend a lot of money. But there's still vacancies in the hotels. I'm not saying we should build more hotels. I'm not saying we need to build, big chain hotels. What I'm saying is there's still vacancies in the hotels and the villas. So are we expanding beyond the millionaires and the billionaires into the people who are making $100,000, $150,000, who get a week or 2 weeks of vacation a year, and who are going to save up to go someplace very nice? Because those people have it's a huge opportunity for this island to reach those individuals. And that's what I'm hoping for. Heads in beds, seats in seats.
Just quickly, Margaret, I just want to say this quickly to this question. It's a very important question because that is exactly who we're marketing to. That is where you have the charming escapes. And I always say that in my travels marketing Anguilla, I never say that Anguilla is a higher destination. I say Anguilla is the best destination because I have to market the sedans, the Connors, easy Connor cottages, the Anguilla great houses, as well as the Viceroys. The Viceroy have more marketing dollars than the entire government of Anguilla. They alone. So when we go out and market, we have to market Anguilla as a destination to all people, even the aspirational traveler who cannot afford it, who can't even save up to come, but they want to come. It is on their bucket list. At some point in their life, before they die, they will come to Anguilla. And some have come to Anguilla and died in Anguilla. So the reality is that we travel, we market Anguilla to everybody, because when you put Anguilla out there, not only the billionaires are going to read that magazine, see that billboard, pick up that brochure, everybody's going to see it. So we market Anguilla to the world, to everybody, to every demographic, including the homeless man on the street. Someday, hopefully, his fortunes will change and he'll be able to come to Anguilla. So to your point, the demographics we should market to, I think you asked the question about the demographics, who you separate the table and say, hey, I think that's his question, and he just confirmed that. Yes, who we getting it from. But the reality is who we are marketing to is everybody. So I think that question should be answered, and Jackie, before we...
I've heard some great things today. I'm very passionate about Anguilla. I'm passionate about a lot of things, you know that. I'm up there, I'm down there, I'm in here. I've got plenty of mouth and I'm always on the go. Everything you said as Anguillians touched me right here, because I consider I'm Anguillian. Whether you like it or not, I am. This is my home. Okay? And for my shortcomings, I also see good and bad in everything. I think we're taking a hard rap because we've had a few shootings. It is bad, but it's nowhere near as bad as Miami, for God's sake. And it certainly isn't as bad as Turks and Caicos. Their stuff that's going on there, Trinidad, Barbados, St. Lucia, all the islands, is far more than we've got to contend with. But it's because we're such a beautiful island and we're tiny, we're getting whacked by a few people and it goes to the wrong ones. It's up to us to calm it down. But the real reason, as we say, we need heads in beds. but you'll never get me off the subject of until we get our airport sorted, there's no way we're going to get heads in bed. I've been to Mykonos, young lady, more times than I care to mention, since a weeny baby. And I got there in 4 hours. Do you know it takes 17 to 27 hours to get from the States to Anguilla? Yes. Why? Why don't we major on an airport? And then let's talk about rebranding.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. I would like to speak from the perspective of being a millennial. I went to a private institution in Southern California, one of the richest neighborhoods in Southern California, Orange County. A lot of my friends work in the industry, and they're in Silicon Valley. They're all over the place. They're the demographic, which is the new, the money, the guys with money. But what I want to say is, from my experience of knowing all those people and knowing the very selfie generation that we are, I'd like to say, I like these, well, being that I also say visual anthropology, being that I study people and how cultures interact simultaneously, I specialize in social media. Anguilla, our island, your home, I like these little taglines. They're very palpable, but I don't think they're very geared towards the millennial generation, considering our selfies are based around adventure, based around going outside of the home, based around going to places we don't know, the unknown reaching the unknown. So within our home, our island, your home is kind of, you're right above the millennial generation, but you're not quite in it, you know what I mean? But I kind of see that you could rebrand it again, maybe in 10 years when those millennials are on honeymoons. They, a lot of my friends are getting married, but I'm just kind of staying with that, So it's like, on the second tip, will this whole rebranding thing is very interesting. People talk about, they want things new. I went to school, like I said, I went to school in Southern California, things like that. I'm half American, half from Anguilla. I learned how to surf. I learned how to go to Southern California. I've been to Fiji, Ghana, Mexico, all over the place. I've been different places. Fiji has this great tourism industry. In fact, they brand surfing. You can go to Fiji, there's certain islands you can only go to staying at the resort to surf that certain way. People from around the world fly to surf these waves, you know what I'm saying? And Anguilla, what I'm saying is this rebranding fueling an economic turn? Hayden, that was some great things you said, but I actually sat in your office. I want to do new projects. I want to start new companies. I want to offer new things for the kids and for people to do. I have a company, Surf AXA, There's no way to get a loan to support my company. At least a loan that is actually feasible for me to create a business out of. There's a loan for me to be in debt for the rest of my life trying to survive as a company. But no company that's actually, there's no entrepreneurial spirit. There's no loan I can do for that. Secondary, I put on something called Digital Media Lab. I wanted to collaborate with PBS Digital Studios. Anguilla is great. You don't even have to have a branding line. You just be like, I'm from Anguilla. People are like, where is that? It's already branded. You don't even have to have a line. You just say Anguilla. I call PBS Digital Studios. They have a project called Beat Making Lab. They go around the world, isolated locations. They bring in technology, teach kids, not like we don't have technology, but access to technology. Bring in laptops, beat pads, teach kids how to make music, shoot music videos. And it is, in a way, a tourism product, but also an international education product. Yes, the budget was a bit high for the project. I was very active in fundraising for that. I went to about every single office in Anguilla, the Anguilla Development Board, every single minister except for Chief Minister. Yeah, I got flat out $0 from all these people. Yeah, and I got a lot of support, a lot like, yo, this is a great idea, but there's no actually institutional infrastructural funding for these things. Being that, I got the, if you guys saw the Happy Anguilla video, well, I pulled off the same $60,000 workshop with about $4,000. So it really taught me something that you don't have to have the 60 grand to really do what you want to do. But it's a lot different when, maybe there's different outlets within the government that support those kind of things. But I don't know if you guys saw the Happy Anguilla video, but a bunch of 13-year-old kids shot that. I put my own DSLRs that I go out and shoot professional things with. I put it in a 13-year-old's hand and I said, hey, press the button, man, figure it out. And that kid went out and shot Happy. So many people from around the world called me, but I love this video. I was so sad this one day, someone sent me this email and they saw this video and they loved it. But, I didn't get much government support to do any of those things. I'm still running a surf company every day and I don't have any more government support to offer new things. I go down to Viceroy Anguilla. I work with Nori all the time. I go to St. Martin all the time. There's no infrastructural support, so along with this branding, that's great. You know, I work a lot of marketing. I work with this company, largeup.com. We're based out of New York. New York, Kingston, Miami, I work a lot of marketing. Marketing's great, you know, it's a lot of fluff and this and that. You know, excuse my language, a lot of, I don't even say it, but a lot of stuff, you know? The thing is, what comes with it, you know what I mean? Like, it's great, our island, your home, but anytime that someone's presenting to me, and I quote verbatim, I want to sell the people of Anguilla. I mean, maybe in the 19th century that was the idea because slavery, and you're actually selling people, but, you know, just that concept. The concepts that are presented are great, but I really would like to push something that is more about selling, you know, experience and adventure, and I don't really want to sell my people, you know what I mean? So that's just my whole take as a millennial, as the one that experienced a very privileged area that is also Anguilla and has stake and own land here, and I market and do other things like that. So that's just my whole take.
Just to his point, we didn't give him any financial support, but we gave him moral support.
Yeah, and that really does so much when I taught that whole workshop and didn't get a cent for it. Do you know how much time and energy that goes? And how much student loans I have in my back pocket that I can't do anything about, but more deferments? Wow.
Good night, everyone. I'm from What We Do in Anguilla magazine. I'm actually taking the front bench on this magazine, which has been going on for 25 years. One of the things that my dad always tells me is, we will not take any shots which have been staged because we want to promote the true essence of Anguilla.
Correct.
That's why we say what we do in Anguilla. It's not what we ourselves do in Anguilla, it's what we and our tourists do, which makes it our island, your home as well. So I would say that for the past 25 years, we have been pushing this this tagline, and I believe that in the future we can continue to promote Anguilla as a destination for tranquility. And I would like for more young persons to take more of a firmer stance in promoting their country. We have the selfies and stuff. All of that is promotion. We don't have to necessarily say that we don't want to rebrand, because right now I'm in the process of trying to make it a more youthful way, you could say. I'm going into social media, blogs and stuff as well for the magazine. And I'll just say that all of us need to support each other to continue our country's growth. I don't know how easy that would be, but that's just my position on it. I have a good day.
Just one observation, and that perhaps can act as a compromise. In our island, your home, allows, I would think, with the visual gurus, etc., to be able to capture our island in a very comprehensive way that targets many people. So the persons who want the pictures of nothing but pure tranquility, it is there. For the one who's looking for adventure, when I saw your clip, the one who's kite surfing, I mean, that brought its own energy and will appeal to a different demographic. The person who just wants to be able to sit and read a book, there's that. And so I'm just thinking that if eventually that perhaps may turn out to be where we're going, it can act as an effective compromise by the visual, where you don't have to say tranquility to get a picture that reflects tranquility, or you don't have to say adventure, but the sheer energy of what you're presenting flows from it, adventure. And perhaps maybe that's an effective compromise, all in our island. In other words, there's a lot to Anguilla. There's a lot to feel, and there's a lot to be excited about. And so I think that perhaps to appeal to the different feelings that might be in the representation of our island can possibly be so many different things, the trails, the hikes, you know, so that you are, even to the exercise fanatic, so that in so many ways you are appealing to different types of occasions, which I think Anguilla can truly offer, and we stick to our brand promise.
I honestly believe that we could take a page back out of some Barks, for example, where we were once compared, and unfortunately we lost our way. But the thing is, we need heads in beds desperately. And this all has to do with the rebranding thing, but I honestly believe that every month, look at St. Bart's, every month it has something different going on. You know, where they're going after different things every month. There's film festivals, there's this festival, there's that festival, there's ships, there's everything that's going on. What are we doing? Litfest did not hardly put one head in a bed, right? We need to examine this whole problem. All these months go by, and we don't have anything. We lost the jazz festival because we did, well, God knows we didn't do it right? But we need to do this. We're just languishing at the moment. You know, I agree. I like our island, your home. I mean, your island, whatever. But the thing is that I feel so strongly about the problem that we have, that we are not getting enough people here. We have difficulty in getting them here in the first place, which is another problem in itself, right? But we are not. What do we do every month? We've got Festival Del Mar, which is fabulous, right? You know, and that brings the people in. We've got to go back. This is going back to the basics that we were.
So they want to wrap it up, but I do want to answer your question, Ms. Ricketts. When we met several years ago, probably about 2 years ago, came down with Scott and myself, and we presented a very robust deck of a lot of programming, because we believe that the best way to really promote Anguilla is to kind of draw from every tagline that Anguilla has had. Seeing is believing, experience Anguilla, the Anguilla experience, all of them. And so we created a slate of events and activations, you know, particularly an art festival, a music festival, and definitely the first thing I think that we talked about was how could we have a resort called Cuisinart and over 100 restaurants and a culinary community and not have a food festival. So we put all of those ideas, we put that ideation on paper, but I did say to the ministry that I wanted to start with having assets to sell, assets to share, assets to promote Anguilla, because we didn't have any assets, no photo library, and then the branding process was challenged and didn't get started right away. But we felt as though that we wanted to present an authentic Anguilla, and none of what we were sent or inherited really did that. And so we believe that when you give people a reason to come to Anguilla, whether it's 50 people, 100 people, 150 people, then they'll go back and share that experience. And I think 50 people, 100 people are more people than no people, right? So we have to start somewhere. For us, this process is necessary because we need tools in which to attract people. And I think a lot of what we've been doing has been fragmented. We've been pulling, even to pull together the video we shared with you, like Tam said, it took several days of just pulling assets from various hotels, etc. Even at Christmas, people come and everybody wants to go to the Viceroy because that's where the action is. And so what do we do about that? You know, why can't we create experiences all throughout the island that give people something to do, to your point? And so that is what we have been focused on. But we feel as though a recalibration towards whatever Anguilla's brand promise is going to be needs to happen first. At which point then we can roll out all of the concepts. We have attracted the We Symposium, which is coming to Anguilla next year, early next year. We have a lot of exciting programming that I think has been shared with the ATB. I'm not sure, Hayden, if you've been able to share all the concepts, the Food and Wine Festival, the Art Festival. So we do believe that when I arrived a couple of years ago, I was surprised that there weren't any brand extensions that would habitually take place that people could look forward to. If you look at South Beach and you look at Art Basel and how Art Basel has just gone from, you know, a couple hundred people to several 100,000, I do believe that we are an attraction, and you ride around Anguilla and you see all the art galleries. We started a recipe book called We Are Anguilla, and it's highlighting Anguilla's culinary excellence. And we wanted that book to lay the foundation for a food and wine festival. So we are taking those steps, and unfortunately we are challenged by a lot, and resources are one of them, but I think that from today moving forward, you'll be hearing more about the initiatives that we have presented, and we'll find a better way of communicating the ideation and the energetic slate of programming that we believe will work to get the heads and beds that you're speaking about. Because I do believe that when you look at our cycling community, when you look at the boat racing community, when you look at all the different aspects, we've got trails here, we can put runs together. I think we need to at least try to create reasons for people to come to Anguilla that extends beyond the beaches. And I think we need to start with the obvious places, and instead of just having a prefix menu during the off season, we should have you know, a way for people to experience our culinary excellence on an ongoing basis. So I think we have to really look at what we have to offer and figure out how to start small with the resources that we do have in introducing individuals to all the different assets that Anguilla has. So we do know that creating events will play a big part in getting people here, and we do have programming to implement and remedy that problem.
So I have
yes.
a couple of questions, basically. To me, on the rocks, I guess everybody know who I am. My issue is I think Anguilla has been marketed the wrong way from inception. Because when you have visitors or guests or people dining at your restaurant, they say, oh, we came now because we know the island shuts down in a couple weeks. And when you have people online saying Anguilla is shut down for 3 months, when you have your tourism department advertising that Anguilla has a closed season and the island is completely closed for 3 months, like where does that leave the restaurateurs, the hotels? Everybody is then forced to close. Yeah. So rebranding and doing all this good stuff is all well and good, but what are we doing marketing ourselves for those months that nothing is happening because we have allowed it to happen or marketed it that we're closed for these 3 months. So if we look at the structure of how we set ourselves as a tourism destination, we open the market for everybody else during those 3 months that we say we're closed. I had 10 travel agents by me in August, and they're telling me that oh, they've been trying to send people to Anguilla every year, but every time they call, they said the island is closed for business. You can't come. There's no hotels. There's nothing available for people to do. So now when you have those agencies and those travel firms and they're marketing that Anguilla is closed also because we're broadcasting that we're closed, nobody is coming. So the roughest months of the year is those 3 months, September, October, November, where nobody is functioning, nobody makes any money. Yeah, in the season everything is booming and everybody is well, but then those 3 months you spend everything you made for that season, so you're back to square one. What are we gonna do about that?
Problem, you know. We did not, this is a new problem that we have. In the middle of 2000, we ran 10 months of the year, and we ran an extremely high occupancy. Extremely. I'm sure there are many, many people in this room who will remember.
That's true.
Right? November was an incredibly good month. And the only reason that Cap Chalooka closed in September and October was that the only way they could do any maintenance whatsoever was because we were so busy throughout the year. Something radically wrong has happened, and we've got to get it right.
We need to sort it out and fix it.
You know, I mean, the thing is, we lost American Eagle. We haven't brought anybody in to take its place. That was one of the biggest turning points in the whole of Anguilla, was the loss of American Eagle. Right? And we just haven't. This is why we're not using our hubs. We've got a hub in St. San Juan. We've got a hub in Antigua. You can't even get a damn plane in here, hardly. I'm sorry. Anybody who knows me knows how passionate I get about this stuff. So the thing is that, you know,